6:30 on the button. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the council meeting this evening. I'm going to call the regular council meeting for April 8th, Monday, 6:30 to order. Just want to acknowledge that with respect that we're meeting on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, and we're honored to have this opportunity to build strong working relationships with the people of the Songhees and the Kasepsum nations. And I'm looking for a motion, please, to approve the agenda. That's the near-term, long-term agenda to receive, and the regular council meeting agenda for tonight. Move it. Okay, thank you. Councillor Jordison and Councillor Olsen. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Move on. Mayor's message. I just have a couple things to talk about tonight. First of all, you can see our long-term agenda tonight, or it's long. There's a lot of items to be actioned over the year. And if you don't see us chasing around other things, you can see that this is stretching us to the limit as far as our resources go and our time and money. So anything new that comes onto, that are items that happen over the year, of course, some emergency things happen, and they'll have to be wedged into that agenda somehow. But I'm a believer of Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and the success of any organization, whether it be private or public, is concentration of force. That's what I call it. That's where you absolutely resource and you fund what you want to do. And if you veer away from those objectives, you don't get anything done. I don't want to be caught in that. So you'll see that I do practice that strategy, and that's what's made the organizations I've been with in the past successful. So that's my first message I want to get across. The second one, I don't think not everyone in the public is aware that the city of Colwood has successfully received two fairly large grants. The first one is for $208,000, and that's from the BC Active Transportation side of things, and that's for the Wilford Road intersection. So that's a big win for us, $208,000. And the other $300,000, and I'm gonna have to cheat on this one, is for the disaster risk reduction and climate adaptation, which is a pretty big win for us right now. And that's basically is to conduct a community risk assessment, develop a disaster risk reduction strategies and policies, create a mental health resilience strategy, and to develop a related public education and outreach tools. So big wins. And thank you very much for the staff for all the work that went into it. It was just absolutely phenomenal. For a small little city like Colwood, we certainly received more than our fair shares in grants, and that's really due to the staff. They just do an outstanding job on that. So thank you very much, Mr. Earl and staff. And on that note, I shall move on. That's all I have for mayor's messages, to adoption and receive the minutes. May I have a motion to adopt the regular council meeting minutes for March 25th. Okay, Councillor Grove and Councillor Jordison. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. And now I'll open it up for public participation at this time. And does anyone want to speak to the item? Want to wait to speak to the item as it comes up on the agenda? If you're not seeing it, then I'll just open the floor right now. Now, from what I understand, I should mention the fact that we did have two submissions that came in after the 12 o'clock cutoff, and they'll be appended to the minutes tomorrow. In fact, I think they were from yourself, Karen, or it was from Charlotte Gorley, yeah, or someone. I remember reading it. Really well written, by the way. So anyways, I shall open it up for public participation. Karen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was a collaborative submission that we forwarded, and I love the idea you started with of concentrating the force. That is exactly what we are wanting to do with our proposal, which is to make Colwood a model municipality for renewable solar energy. So you have the proposal, and what I'd like to do in the short time tonight is just highlight some aspects, beginning with affordability. So what could be more affordable than free energy from the sun? Yes, you pay for the infrastructure and the installation, and that cost is eventually paid back by the collection of solar. So the panels themselves have dropped sharply in the last decade. Climate emergency. Everyone agrees we're in one, but no one is doing anything. No one's responding with the urgency. Lots of people are doing things, but we need to quickly and dramatically lower our emissions. Net zero by 2050 is too late. Economic benefits. Just to ask Shift Solar, a Colwood-based business which has grown from 2 to 55 employees in a few short years. And we thank them for their letter of support for our proposal. BC Hydro put out a recent call for proposals to boost the grid because concerns that we may be overusing electricity in the future as we electrify everything. Given BC Hydro's recent work along Veterans Memorial, they might be very interested in collaborating with Colwood on this initiative. Royal Bay and the Beachlands, if you can imagine every building, home, townhome.
I'll just get to wrap it up.
Okay, let me say climate leadership. It states on the website that Colwood wants to be a leader, and solar panels are an iconic symbol of energy transformation and societal transformation. So it's a big idea. It's not a new idea. Solar Colwood ran from 2011 to 2014, and the councillor championing that, Judith Cullington, is also supporting this proposal. So thank you for your time and apologies for going.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from the public? Please, Charlotte.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My colleague has described some of the benefits and advantages of the proposal that we are bringing to you this evening. And I'd like to just speak for a moment on another opportunity that it brings along for recognizing this as a real world project for students at all education levels, from elementary grades to doctoral studies. It has the potential to be a unique case study of applied research and an example of leadership in community engagement, perfect for college and university students as they're always looking for projects for their thesis and dissertation work. It also has the potential to open doors for graduate and doctoral students seeking research opportunities. And it helps to bring the community together, getting residents, businesses, Indigenous groups, and others involved in the planning and implementation of a project such as this. And I think this engagement opportunity matches the city's goals as well. I'd also like to just briefly read a message from Dr. Jerry Kelly, who is the first president of Royal Roads University, who says, "This model of a municipal renewable energy program complements the idea of creating our West Shore as a smart community. It's an extension of our 3-year study involving 20 West Shore members who advocated the creation of our West Shore as a smart community a few years ago." And he does go on a little bit more, but I will forward you that message from him as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte.
Carol Brown, Scenic. I'm here representing Scenic this evening to support the proposal that you have received this week from Karen Woodland and Charlotte Gedney. We need your help. This truly is a great idea. And to have Colwood act as a model municipality is truly worth its weight in gold. Scenic has made their own attempts, and we have not been successful. We need your help. A year and a half ago, when we knew some of the anchors at the Royal Bee Commercial Development and Allendale. We wrote emails. We wrote 4 letters and emails to the Royal BC Museum. Not one was answered. We were asking them just to consider solar. Not an answer except for one establishment in the Allendale development. We need your help. Solar is the way to go. BC Hydro is now asking us to go solar. Personally, we've had solar for 5 years. I like to think that the electric car I drive is powered by the sun. How clean can you get? But if we have infrastructure going on, if we're going to build in the back of our city hall and build onto structures, if we're going to put a roof up, could we consider here showing our citizens that we're serious and that we will pave the way? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? Just want to, ladies, just thank you very much for your very short presentations. Certainly going to consider everything that you have. I was hoping, and I understand the environmental committee didn't meet this month, and I certainly, this is something that it needs a little more meat behind it. I believe, just in my opinion, but it's absolutely a valid project in my eyes. So I just want to. I think with some other questions I'm going to fire them back in. And it's a real big project that I think I'm hoping the environmental committee will get behind. I'd like to see this come forward and, a more detailed proposal, I guess, is what I'm looking for. That's just my opinion, but certainly let any other councillor ask questions on it. Seeing none. Did you want to speak again, Karen? I guess because we have time tonight, I will let you speak again.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say it certainly fits into the long-term agenda and strategic plan and climate action plan. And I wonder if we can call for a motion to have this referred back to the Environment Committee. Thank you.
Actually, we can have it dictated by the chair. You can bring any motion you want to the committee, to tell you the truth. So it's mainly for advisory, but we do have that flexibility. I've got that clarification this morning that this could all happen. So I think that the chair understands this, and I think you are going to bring this up at the next meeting, I believe, David.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The business of bringing this through, I'd be more than happy to help to work it forward. The comment you made about needing more detail for the proposal, I think, is key, and there's a lot of work to be done there that could be dug into, and that can start right away. I'm feeling right now at this moment that we can, so that as the days go on in the next week or two, we can get to the bottom of it. I had thought perhaps we could call a meeting without resources, so that it would be free with the Environment Committee over the next week, or perhaps next week. I'm not sure of schedules. And we could meet here and we could start to grind through something, and so we can't flesh it out and make it really solid.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other public participation at this time, we shall move on to delegations. And I'll introduce our speaker here. It's Niki Ottosen. She's a citizen of Colwood. And I know she's been involved with this project called the Black Backpack Project. And she was talking to me and I says, oh, you should come and brief council on this. So she's here now to do a presentation on the Backpack Project. You have 10 minutes, Niki.
My name is Niki Ottosen and I live at 3340 Machosen Road. Honorable Mayor and Council members, thank you for the opportunities to speak to you today. My presentation will be about homelessness in our community and how municipalities can play an active role in the progressive realization to the right to housing. As you all know, we are in a housing crisis and a public health state of emergency that was declared in 2016 with the toxic drug supply. To date, tainted drugs has taken the lives of over 13,000 people in BC, and we are only recently collecting data on how many people have died who are homeless. As I speak to you tonight, there are hundreds of people in our community who are living out in the rain with no shelter, no running water, no showers or sanitation, and no housing. Men, women, children, seniors, people with disabilities, and even people who are fighting deadly diseases such as cancer are living in extreme poverty without human rights or safe, adequate housing. I have been actively involved with the unhoused community for the past 15 years. And the reason for my passion on the subject is because I have friends and family members who are living on the streets and in our parks. Our loved ones, our friends and family, are dying each week as new people emerge into homelessness each month. Our families and our communities are in a crisis. And so I am here to ask you for your support by reading the resource materials that I've given you and implementing them in your decisions around homelessness and creating policies that are inclusive and rooted in human rights. But I'll start by sharing a bit about myself and my organization. My name is Niki. I was born and raised as an uninvited guest on the traditional lands of the Lekwungen and the Wasanich people. I am grateful to be able to work and live on these lands. I'm one of the few people left that can say I was born and raised in Victoria. And throughout my life, I have lived in 5 out of the 13 municipalities in what is known as the Greater Victoria Regional District. I'm a business owner, I'm a homeowner, and my family and I have been residents in Colwood for 24 years. I also have an organization called the Backpack Project, which I started 15 years ago. The Backpack Project is a local initiative which provides mutual aid and humanitarian aid to people in our community who live without homes. The municipality of Colwood has supported me by hosting a donation box in the lobby of the Municipal Hall, and the community of Colwood has generously supported my organization with donations of survival gear and humanitarian aid for close to 5 years now. Our Facebook page currently has over 3,300 followers. During the first 10 years, the project was geared towards Christmas. I would collect donations of necessities and comfort items such as blankets, foods, and toiletry items. And with the help of volunteers, we would assemble backpacks to deliver to our community's homeless on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. By 2019, volunteers and I had created and delivered over 200 backpacks. During the pandemic, I delivered humanitarian aid and survival gear donated by people all throughout the CRD to people in our community who were without homes and living in our parks. I did this by myself, once a week, every week for 2 years. In January 2023, I was involved with a project launched by Marie-José Huel, who is the federal housing advocate. It was a cross-country review of encampments and human rights violations. Victoria was chosen as one of 4 cities across Canada to help people who live in encampments to provide a submission to the federal housing advocate on the problems they face with daily displacement and the concrete solutions and systemic policy changes that are needed that only people with lived and living experience and expertise could provide. In Victoria, local outreach groups, neighborhood groups, as well as housed and unhoused community members pulled together, and we hosted meals and community gatherings in parks and on Pandora Green. We gathered over 125 submissions for Victoria out of the 350 that would make up the Federal Housing Advocate's final report, which was released in February of 2024. Upholding Dignity and Human Rights, the Federal Housing Advocate's Review of Homeless Encampments. This experience, combined with the 15 years of providing mutual aid to community members and talking to people who are living in our parks and on our streets, listening to firsthand accounts of people who experience each day living in extreme poverty, and living without safety or security of housing. I realize that we as a society are years behind in finding solutions and building housing, but I believe the solutions start with the fundamental protection of human rights. I have been told by municipal leaders that housing and homelessness is a federal and provincial responsibility. But what I have learned is that the role of the municipalities in the progressive realization of the right to housing, there are two mechanisms or levers that are within the control of elected officials. Funding levers are largely under control of provincial and federal governments, and while municipalities have less control of funding levers, they can lobby provincial and federal governments for new capital projects. And there are roles of municipalities in relation to housing that are set out by the province, such as housing needs reports, regional growth strategies, official community plans, housing strategies and action plans, incentives for housing, zoning for housing, inclusionary zoning, and infill housing. But where municipalities have greater control is in the use of policy levers. Policy levers are tools that governments and its agencies have at their disposal to direct, manage, and shape changes in public service. I believe that the 5 documents that I have given you will be extremely useful as you continue to find a balance between public perceptions of homelessness, intolerance and stigma, community safety, and the protection of human rights for all individuals in our community. These documents are invaluable when it comes to upholding your promises to the community of Colwood to continue to acknowledge and incorporate basic human rights and dignity within your systems and policies. And they highlight the importance of including Indigenous people and people with lived and living experience and expertise in shaping the policies that affect them. These 5 documents are the Federal Housing Advocates Review of Homeless Encampments, the Chef's Homeless Encampments Municipal Engagement Guide, Belongings Matter, Possessions of Precariously Housed People, the UN Protocol for Homeless Encampments in Canada, and from the Office of the BC Ombudsperson, a guide for local governments on bylaw enforcement best practices. These documents provide municipalities with an understanding of their human rights obligations with respect to homeless encampments. They highlight ways for municipalities to prevent homelessness, address encampments, and support the people who live in them. These resource documents come from federal, provincial, and national working groups and government agencies, as well as researchers who have gathered local data from nonprofits, outreach agencies, Indigenous communities, and people who have lived and living expertise. The final document, which I was not able to print out for you, but can send through email at your request, or I can directly connect you with the person who wrote the report, is titled COVID-19, the Beginning of the End of Homelessness, a report on the barriers and recommendations to ending homelessness in the capital region. This was prepared by Nicole Chaland for the City of Victoria in 2021. I urge you to read and implement these documents in your discussions around homelessness and encampments in our community and throughout the CRD, and in your decision-making around systems, policies, and bylaws in the community of Colwood. Thank you for your time tonight, and if you have any questions about my presentation, please feel free to call or email me anytime. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Niki. Council, any questions? Councillor Jordison. If you don't mind, Niki, take this.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have a question, Niki. I just wanted to say thank you for all your advocacy and your support and for giving us this information. It's invaluable, and I'm thankful for that, for you bringing it forward to us. Thank you.
I have a quick question, Niki. So what is the situation of the homelessness problem here in Colwood? Is it something that you track? Has it been growing over the past 5 years, or has it sort of remained flat? Or how big is actually the problem? Say that it was a bit of a shocker for me actually to actually walk down the Galloping Goose and to bike on another part of it to see a lot of homelessness there. They're hidden, right? It's something you don't see when you're driving your car or walking our neighborhoods. So I know there's a problem now. I've seen it. It's physical evidence. So how big is the problem? Could you hit your mic there? Thank you.
The point in time count, which came out this year, has a snapshot of homelessness throughout the region. And currently there is at least 700 people throughout the CRD that are homeless. What I know from experience is when municipalities criminalize homelessness and displace people with bylaws, the problem goes to neighboring municipalities. And so that's what we're seeing here. Unfortunately, the city of Victoria's bylaws are very strict and are not human rights rooted. And so when people get displaced and have their belongings removed and impounded time and time and time again, they look for places that are safe. And those places are outlying communities, the Galloping Goose Trail, in the bushes and under bridges. And unfortunately, that's where people die. When communities are displaced, people are left alone to their own devices, and they're without friends and family nearby, and that's how we're losing people. So that's why you're seeing problem come out to the West Shore.
And so you have no idea approximately how many
In the West Shore?
in our actual community.
In this community?
Yes.
No, I don't have any idea. And it fluctuates. It's, it fluctuates. People come and go. It's a very transient population because there's no real safe place for anyone to be. One of the things I know is that people in the community get upset when they see tents and when they see people defecating and urinating in public spaces. So what we need is a place for people to be and a place for people to go. And that those solutions are based in human rights.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for coming out and doing this presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. New business. Red Dress Project Sculpture, Councillor Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was very moving. I came across the red dress for the first time at the Board of Education office after following a meeting. There's one mounted there if anyone would like to stop by on Jacqueline Road, the Sooke District headquarters office. There's one mounted on the wall there to see, and also out in Sooke at various public buildings, they have them. This is a project which came to mind because I thought we could use one here at Colwood City Hall. It's a project that was started, the Red Dress project started some years ago as an art installation. It was like an aesthetic response to the more than 1,000 missing and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada. The Edward Milne School shop keeper Matt, he got involved because they train plasma cutting, which requires a steady hand and a certain amount of skill and training and repetition. So this was a project, they cut the piece of steel or aluminum and they, in the shape of a dress with many curved it looks kind of indigenous artwork like designs, and they practice then these cuts. So then they powder coat this piece red, and it's in the shape of a dress. And when you see it, I think you would be moved by it. The cost is, I believe it's around 600, but I think we'll find out for sure. And it could be mounted either inside or out. And I think we need to find a really appropriate place for it. I think it would work. It's a piece of public art, and I find it a very powerful thing. So I'm asking tonight that, should I read the motion?
Yes, please.
So I'll just read the motion, I guess. Recommend that staff be directed to return with options for the Red Dress Project sculpture, including consideration of cost to purchase and install, as well as ideas for the location, whether indoor or outdoor.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I get a seconder on that motion? Okay, Councillor Day seconds it. And I'll open the floor for discussion. Councillor Olsen.
Thank you through the chair. I love this concept, Councillor Grove. It's great. I think my question would just be, not so much maybe a question, but a statement. It would be wonderful that if we move forward with this to try to incorporate it with, I believe, May 5th, as I was mentioning earlier, was Red Dress Day. So I don't know about the turnaround time, but it would be so lovely to be able to have something like this and have some sort of a, a small intimate ceremony here. I just think it's fantastic. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you very much. Mr. Earl, just a quick question on that. Should this motion pass, is it something that we can turn around fairly quickly, the staff, for the options?
It absolutely, from the sounds of the budget, it's not a material amount that would require any change.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, discussions? I shall call the question. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking the initiative, Councillor Grove, on this. It's really good. Okay, another new initiative. Councillor Jordison and Councillor Olsen on the age-friendly community plan update. And before I let them talk here, I just want to compliment both councillors on taking the initiative. This wasn't us telling them they had to do this. They did this on their own. I think Councillor Jordison's original idea on this, and they pursued it like, much to my chagrin. I was trying to get them to slow down a little bit, but the initiative they took was just phenomenal. And from the feedback that I got from the Trillium, it was pretty outstanding. So thank you very much. And at this point in time, I'll just get, if I can get, I think it was your original motion, Councillor Jordison, if I can get you to make the motion, and then I'll get your seconder, then I'll go to, I think Councillor Olsen wanted to speak first on it. If you could read your motion, please. Your original motion.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, so the original motion was recommendation that council direct staff to review and update the city's current age-friendly community plan and to prioritize an integrated approach aimed at addressing the needs of seniors throughout the city with a particular focus on reducing barriers. And that staff investigate options to enhance transportation services specifically tailored to meet the needs of our senior population.
And you were going to second that, I believe, Councillor Olsen? Yes, okay, second Councillor Olsen. And I shall open it up. Well, first I'll let them motivate. Councillor Olsen, followed by Councillor Jordison.
Okay, excellent. Thank you through the chair. So before attempting to motivate, I might like to ask Marcy to bring up the original motion because I am going to be asking to do two things here. And with Councillor Jordison's endorsement, we'd like to actually strike the second part of the original motion due to what we feel would be stretching staff capacity at this time. And secondly, we'd like to actually make an amendment to the first part of the original motion. And I'm going to read it out. We would like the second part here to read that council direct staff to conduct a thorough review of the city's current age-friendly community plan and return to council with an action report outlining progress made, outcomes achieved, and areas for improvement. I can read it again, slower if you like. That council directs staff to conduct a thorough review of the city's current age-friendly community plan and return to council with an action report outlining progress made, outcomes achieved, and areas for improvement. I can also pass this over to you when I'm done reading from it if you need to. Outcomes achieved. and areas for improvement. Yeah, it just reads,
Delete.
outcomes achieved and areas for improvement. So you can delete the made there. Yeah, thank you. Okay,
And you want that very first part of it deleted too, right?
yeah,
Yeah, all of it, that first paragraph.
yeah. So the motion would read that council direct staff to conduct a thorough review of the city's current age-friendly community plan and return to council with an action report outlining progress made, outcomes achieved, and areas for improvement. So that would be the new motion this evening. And just so on February 5th, Councillor Jordison and myself hosted a tea time engagement session with the residents at Trillium West Shore to collect information and to hear directly from the residents about what daily life is like for them here in Colwood. We discussed everything from their obstacles to their fears and of course their happy moments here. During a recent meeting with staff to discuss our findings, it was indeed highlighted that our current age-friendly community plan is outdated. The demographics of our city are evolving, and it is essential that our policies and plans reflect these changes and current times. By conducting a thorough review of our current plan, we can proactively identify and address the needs of our senior residents to ensure that we continue to be a welcoming, age-inclusive, and age-friendly city. Tonight, we are seeking your support to authorize staff to conduct a thorough review of our outdated 9-year-old plan. As our senior population continues to increase, it is essential that we review the content of our age-friendly plan to ensure its relevance and alignment with the current needs of our community. I believe Councillor Jordison has a few comments to make as well, but I just wanted to ensure that you had some background on this particular subject.
Thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Councillor Jordison.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Olsen. I will second the motion. I agree with dropping the second part specifically just because the mention of transportation in the motion is actually upon reviewing the plan, it's actually one of the pillars. So I feel confident that it will be addressed when it's looked into. But I guess just to add that we initiated this as a way to connect with the group of seniors to hear firsthand from them what's working for them in Colwood and what's not. And we have plans to further engage with this group and also to hope to expand our reach more broadly and to the JDF Senior Center as well. So we just started small, but and just so you understand what we did, we just essentially talked to them and had them pick their top 5 to 6 items on a bingo card that they felt were their top priorities in Colwood. And from there, we were able to collect some really great data. And so we're able to understand how this demographic wishes to be engaged and included as well. And as a follow-up, we provided information back to them in the form of a newsletter addressing the questions that they had asked of us, along with some provided some resources that we thought might be helpful. So it was actually a lot of fun. And I believe the city of Colwood has experienced significant changes since the initial development of the age-friendly community plan back in 2016. So the hope is that in directing staff to provide an overview of what progress has been made since then, that further work can be built onto that plan to address the current needs of seniors across the city. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Open the floor for discussion. Councillor Grove, followed by Councillor Day.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question I have is about the overstudy. I assume that it's going to involve citizen response in some sort. Don't quite understand how this will be played out. Mr. Earl, would you have a comment or two to try to help me understand how this might go forward?
Your worship, if I may.
Please, Mr. Earl.
Thank you, Councillor Grove. The city has, I believe, a 2016 original plan, 2015 original plan. So we would reflect back on that plan, the actions that it recommended, and we generate a report indicating to what degree those actions have been taken and achieved the results desired, and to what degree the environment and the demographics in the community have changed. And the plan itself might need amendment. We'd bring that information back to council, and council would direct us accordingly. I believe this, the previous plan, a community, an OCP update followed a few years later. And so it's fortuitous that council is simultaneously updating our OCP at this time.
Thank you very much. One more question. So I've been engaged to some degree with an individual at one of our buildings in town, at 85 Belmont, and there's some seniors living there rent geared to income. There's a lot of concern there, and it's timing with Ms. Niki Ottosen's presentation, how some of them feel they are about one step from homelessness. And so I think that there's this quiet crisis there. They don't have very strong voices, how I feel. There was also an inquiry about the bridge going over the, to me, over the Sooke Road, the bicycle pedestrian bridge on the Galloping Goose, and the construction and how it might affect their ability to navigate the sidewalks from where they live. It's an accessibility question that I think I wouldn't concern myself with, but of course, the construction considers these things, but this is how these people will live with this anxiety around the possible changes in their life. I reassured them best I could. I think that this study is timely, as you say, and I think that I'm really looking forward to seeing the results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Day.
Thank you. Yeah, I think our timing is fortuitous that we are heading towards an OCP review. So that is a good thing. But when we did our age-friendly plan, it was done with a consultant, and it was done in rather a short turnaround because there were some provincial deadlines for the grant that we received to do the consulting with. So I think that we're certainly due to look at this again, and it's important to consider all demographics. And I would say that, you know, regardless of how the demographics change within Colwood, I would hope that Colwood is always going to be a community that's going to be considering the needs of all ages and all abilities. So it's a good time to look at this, but I think that we need to be realistic, and maybe there'll be this great opportunity to do it in conjunction with some of our OCP outreach in order to achieve an age-friendly plan that's updated. But we also need to be realistic and understand that it may also need its own engagements, and there may be some resources required in order to do a good job of that.
Thanks so much, Councillor Day. Councillor Jordison.
I actually just had a question of, I guess, the CAO, just in regards to the Ideas Fair, and wondering if we're at that time doing any engagement with seniors, or if that's one of the topics.
The Ideas Fair will be based around the pillars of Council's strategic plan. Within that plan, there's specific direction to engage both youth and senior populations.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, I guess I'm just going to express a concern. And I don't think you can answer the question tonight, Mr. Earl, without taking a look at this. I think this is a big job in my eyes. It's a big job. And I'm still concerned about our long-term agenda. I mean, we're bold. And the only problem with the long-term agenda, it doesn't say, you know, what the resource requirements are. It's not clear. I just think you're running into a capacity issue right now. And sometimes it's better to look at this and sort of say, does this beat out what in the priorities right now? Because you've basically got our priorities, but by our guidance already on our strategic priorities and from our service level review, that's where these come from right now. So my concern right now is there potentially something that has to suffer if we take this on? Because this looks like it's going to be resource intense. So if you have the ability to answer that question tonight.
Thank you, Worship. Administration will first sit down with the plan and reflect upon it as a team. There are members of our team who were likely here during its creation, have been here since. Many of the actions have likely been subsumed into other master planning documents. Many of the actions may have been achieved, and while some might not have. So we'll do that first level of reflection.
Okay.
If we discover that a deeper review would require additional resourcing and or the creation of an amended action plan would require resourcing either by ourselves or by externals, we will return to council and seek your guidance.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor Olsen first, sorry, she gets a second, and then to you, Councillor Jordison.
Thank you through the chair. So I appreciate those comments, Mr. Earl, and just, Mr. Mayor, we essentially struck the second half, and made an amendment to the first part of the motion, trying to keep in mind staff time. So this is really just gonna, we know that this is a 9-year-old plan. We know that it's outdated. I do feel that it does need at least staff's eyes on it. And so by amending the motion here, this is essentially going to tell us staff would need to spend some time reviewing it, but it's going to tell us what and if there are significant areas of improvement that need to be made or minor areas of improvement. So and then that would come back, my understanding, that would come back to council and we would have, you know, a clearer picture at that time. This is just giving staff the authority to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Jordison.
Sure, I just wanted to just make it, just let you know that like within the plan that's already from 2016 or 2015 or whatever, it did state that to make real progress that this was a living document and it was supposed to be revisited annually. So I'm hoping that maybe not in this specific way, but that it's in other plans and that this work has continued in some way. So I just think it's really important, and I just hope it's not going to be an extra added work than that it's already been looked at and being done. So thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we actually made the motion on the original motion, so I guess I do need a motion for the amendment. Right, and the seconder on the amendment, because it's a whole rewrite, so I read it's not a friendly amendment, it's more a whole new motion. So Councillor Jordison and then Councillor Olsen, you're still good with seconding of the amendment?
Sure.
Okay. So we actually got into discussion on the amendment without, so we're out of order, but that's okay. No damage done. Any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the amendment? That's unanimous. Motion carries. Okay, going back to the motion as amended. All those in favor? Okay, and that's motion carries. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Move on. Thank you very much. Again, very well done, Councillor Jordison and Councillor Olsen on this issue. Okay, we turn it over to our senior bylaw compliance officer, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to review 2317A Sooke Road. And also just a quick reminder that I did invite the homeowner here tonight by hand delivered letter, and he's a no-show tonight. So he was advised of tonight's meeting. Within the last year, the property at 2317A Sooke Road has had 128 calls for service, tying up valuable resources. The CRD Animal Control Service has attended 7 times, Colwood Bylaw 7 times, Colwood Fire 7 times, and the West Shore CMP 107 times, all within the last year. These nuisances calls include unsightly premise, accumulation of garbage, derelict vehicles, people living in motorhomes, and noise disturbances. If the property is declared a nuisance pursuant to the Nuisance Property and Cost Recovery Bylaw 2002, any costs and fees imposed may be added to the owner's property tax if unpaid by December 31st. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you very much. I shall open the floor for questions. Councillor Jensen.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Rick, for bringing this forward. And I'm pleased that we're in a position to at least move on something such as this because of our recent bylaw implementation. One question though, is this, is it from this point forward, once we pass a resolution, or would you be looking at cost recovery retroactively as well?
Through the chair, it'd be once it passes a resolution, moving forward.
Thank you. And does this make, I take it this makes the job dealing with the premise itself that much easier for you? Does this have an impact on how the RCMP responds to that property as well?
Through the chair once again, the RCMP attendance, my hope is if this passes tonight, the homeowner will realize that the city is serious of what's going on. Sure. If the homeowner wants to pay a flat fee for 170 or 107 attendances by the RCMP, I mean, I don't know how he's thinking.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't want to pay, it's going to be on his taxes anyway. So we're hoping this will calm things down at this residence and move forward.
Thank you. And that costing, is there a prescribed cost associated to the attendance, or is that per, I mean, for instance, if the RCMP show up there and they're in and out in 20 minutes, is there a cost associated with that per minute or per call, or how is that tabulated?
Through the chair, yes, there's a flat fee. So for any CRD officers to go there for a call, it's $250. For the RCMP to go there, doesn't matter how many there are, it's $250. And if Colwood Fire has to attend for anything, it's $750.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you. It puts us in a much better position. I'm happy to move the recommendation, Your Worship, now or whenever you're ready.
Second, Councillor Grove seconds it. Any further discussion? Oh, sorry, Councillor Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there some means by which we will can be informed of sort of as this is our first test of the new bylaw in a sense that I'm aware of? Is there some way we could be informed of how it works, or some way to analyze the process and how well it functions? And
yes, through the chair, that's a very good question. We could bylaw staff could bring back a report in 6 months to let you know what's happening with this property, how things have worked out using this new bylaw.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. We're dealing with a resident of the city and the property situation. So I'm pleased with the resolution. I'm happy to support it. I'm just curious how going forward we can learn from this. I understand that you always attempt anything but this sort of solution to a challenging situation like it. So it'll be interesting to hear that too. Good. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
I know Colwood bylaw has always been very careful in the past about ensuring that any necessary services, whether mental health or health services, are available to residents when you get to these points, especially where a nuisance is concerned. I'm just wondering if that's a factor here. I know people get very concerned. You know, you mentioned people living in motorhomes on the property, and that can be part of people's stress when dealing with people that they know who are not safely housed. So I just want to make sure that we're following that good principle of making sure that we're addressing any needs as well as any problems.
Through the chairs, since this report has come to council, the motorhome has vacated the property. So that person living in it is no longer around. So it's just the unsightly, all the police attendants, the fires, the yelling, the screaming, the partying that is still ongoing. So, and if we always try to help people with mental issues, mental capacity. We also work with the province with a couple of outreach workers. So if we feel that they can help, we connect the two.
Great.
So.
Thank you.
Just one last question from me, Rick. Is this actually the residence actually, is it the owner living in it or is it a renter?
It is the owner.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, seeing no other discussion, I'm gonna ask the question. All those in favor of the recommendation, please. Any opposed? Seeing none, unanimous, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. Great job. Call on Carolyn, Richman, climate planner on her FCM application.
Thank you for your time tonight. This report just is to seek council support for two funding applications that we have been working on pre-application stage with West Shore Parks and Recreation, partnership with the city for funding that would provide us with feasibility study and a roadmap for retrofitting our municipal and community buildings. This would be for energy efficiency, energy emissions, or transitioning to that to renewable energy and climate resilience. We heard this morning that we have the go-ahead on the biggest one to move forward with a full application if council is supportive of this report, this action, and we will be moving forward, if so, with partnership efforts with West Shore Parks and Rec on this. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. I have one simple question. Would it be more powerful for the update for the Juan de Fuca Rec Center if all 5 mayors were to sign off on this, like it's regional then? Like I would tend to think that's more powerful than just our city applying for it if all 5 mayors were to sign off on it. That's a simple question.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had some communications with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and they are just looking for West Shore Parks and Recreation to be partnered with one of the municipalities. It makes it fit into their processes better. And because the buildings are located in Colwood, that their preference is to partner with Colwood, although there may be a point where endorsement by all the mayors may be a positive thing. So far, that hasn't been a request of the application. Because
I can get it. If you want to give me the task to do it, I will take that as an action item, just as a heads up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What you just said makes sense. So, Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. And to your point, the ownership group meets in May, if I'm not mistaken. Is it May? I think is the AGM. So there's going to be an opportunity for you guys to discuss that, which is all the mayors, of course. As the board representative for the community with West Shore Parks and Rec, they've done some really neat stuff down there with their physical plant, and we've had assessments. We've had people doing ongoing assessments and making recommendations for things like the Q Center is going to full heat pump transition at some point. That might be a part of this, so I don't want to prejudge this, but there's been some really good work and some things with the ice plant as well. They're doing some really cool things with heat recovery from the ice plant. So this is just really an expansion of what the facility is already trying to achieve, and where our city is doing our part. I can assure you that West Shore Parks and Rec is very live to this, and we get a report. I guess it might be yearly, maybe every few months or so on what our GHG output is for the actual facility. So it's very much a live issue for us, and I'm going to bet dollars to donuts that that's probably the biggest physical public operation, certainly in our community, and it's worthy of our participation to try and collaborate and seek some efficiencies. So
super.
I'm happy to move the recommendation while I'm lit up here, your worship, if you'd like.
Okay. Did you get that, Marcy? Okay. We'll just continue on the discussion with Councillor Day, but, and you know what, Councillor Jensen, you've been retired as a cop for a while. You can't stop thinking about donuts. Councillor Day.
Thank you. So one of the requirements of the grant is that there be a 50% reduction in emissions within 10 years and at least 80% reduction within 20 years compared to the baseline performance. So because of that requirement, I think it's very important to have the other mayors on board, because this isn't it will be with us for a long time, this choice to utilize this grant funding. And I completely 100% support it. I just want to be sure that in the long term, we don't end up in it with any problems because of the nature of the ownership of the building.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? I not seen any, and I will take that up for action, Councillor Day. It's just a matter of I'm really cognizant of the time requirements, and sometimes to get these guys to all sign off on this, it might, you know, the easiest thing is for us to you know, put their signature block underneath it. You know what I mean? If it comes to that, then it's easier for me to get the signatures, guys. I can do it at one table, and I don't think anyone would protest this at all. You know, I'm just thinking ahead here. So anyways, that's all the member municipalities. I generally get them around the table at least once a month, but I meet with them more often than that on a monthly basis. So, you know, it's something I could take on. Anyways, just for your, if you think it's going to add that much more value, it's just another piece of ammunition in your suite there. At this point in time, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Carolyn. And just hopefully we continue our success in getting this grant money. Okay, Kathy. Grant in Aid 2024.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here tonight to bring forward the 2024 Grant and Aid adjudication results from your individual allocations. And if you would like me to review, we're at step 4 of the process. If you want me to recap those, we can, but I think everybody's familiar. So the recommendation is that grant and aid funding in the amount of $33,100 be awarded to recipients in 2024 as indicated. We did receive 27 applications totaling almost $90,000, which is almost double the budget available. And so this represents the results of that and would leave $12,900 for off-cycle grant needs.
Super. Thank you very much. Any questions for Kathy? I just have one, and I know we have to, I as an action item in my own head, I know that I'd like just to have a review of our whole grant and aid policy, because we don't seem to follow it at all. Mainly because I look at, you know, for example, we have a requirement they have to be a registered charity, but it doesn't even make sense for some of these to be a registered charity because some of these are short-term organizations. So I don't know if that's applicable. And there's this one that says, clearly states, you know, B, and it's highlighted in bold, no sports teams. And that was one of the reasons the boccia, which is a form of sport, it's lawn bowling, but it's for disabilities. So I can understand why people voted for it, but I looked at the principle of it, no sports, no sports. So I could vote for it. But so obviously this is not a question, it's more of a comment right now, but it was great. Thank you very much for all your outstanding work on this. Pardon me. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. And we are prepared to come back in September with the results of our review and recommendations.
Okay, super.
For you guys as well.
Excellent. Perfect. Councillor Day.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out, and it's no fault of staff, but between the application date and our getting to council here, the Intermunicipal Advisory Committee on Disability Issues has indeed become a nonprofit society. So they are Access West Shore now. I just wanted to point that out. They have been providing services in Colwood and on the West Shore for over 30 years now. And I think that when I'm filling out these grants, I'm always looking at who's looking out for the people in Colwood, who's putting services on the ground here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do you need a motion? You can do that. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, we're ready.
I would like to move, we accept it.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Jordison. Going to the washroom.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, let's vote on it. If we need his vote, I'll come back to it. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kathy, for all your outstanding work on this. And, well, bylaws. Marcy, could you read them, please? 8.1, start with 8.1.
So the first bylaw is bylaw number 2030, the fees and charges amendment, Schedule H, electrical vehicle charging, and it's for adoption.
Motion, please. Councillor Grove and Councillor Day seconds. All those in discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Motion carries. 8.2.
Bylaw number 183601, development cost charge for roads, and its amendment, first, second, and third readings.
Motion, please. Councillor Grove and Councillor Olsen. Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Grove and Day. Any opposed? Thank you very much, everyone. I delivered.